This is the 3D Viewmaster adventure, The Island at the Top of the World by Walt Disney. As the present century began, the vast expanse of the Arctic was one of the planet's great unknowns. Its frigid fastnesses had taken the lives of many fearless men and turned back many another who dared to probe its barriers. Even today there are those who firmly believe that the clouds and icy mists of the Northland hide mysteries beyond believing. Our story is about just such a mystery. It begins with a determined man's search for his lost son. Viewmaster Reel 1. Picture 1. En route to Calais aboard Sir Anthony Ross' luxurious yacht, Professor Iverson, the archaeologist and Arctic explorer, first heard the words, "Graveyard of Whales." It's on the shore of a mysterious island in the uncharted north. The financier explained, "My son vanished while searching for it a year ago. I have only this fragment of chart to go by. It arrived just recently from the factor of a trading post on Ellesmere Island. A slim clue, but I intend to find my son, and with your aid I will." Picture 2. The search for Donald Ross began the next day when the airship Hyperion, one of the world's first aircraft, took to the skies above France. Almost at once conflict arose between her volatile skipper, Captain Brieux, and the iron-willed British peer. Demanding full speed toward the Arctic, Sir Anthony managed to get his way over the captain's objections, and the Hyperion searched northward. Picture 3. Suddenly, high above the North Sea's icy waters, one of the two engines broke into a scream and the craft yawed violently. The captain was right. One of the props had broken under the strain of top speed. Wasting no time in recrimination, Brieux ordered both engines stopped, fastened a safety line around his waist, seized a spare propeller, and went over the side. The others watched, hearts in mouths, while the doughty airman risked his life to make the repairs. Once they were underway again, Ross managed to apologize with a handshake. Picture 4. Good weather held while the airship landed on Ellesmere. Omyak, the Eskimo who had accompanied young Ross, had returned alone with terrified tales of an island hidden at the top of the world and cursed by the gods. Triggering Omyak into being their guide by luring him aboard the fascinating airship, they cruised on until they sighted the mysterious fog-shrouded island, and there the curse of the gods caught up with them. A vicious storm seized the ship and forced it down on a rugged glacial mountainside. Picture 5. Hurled free and separated from Brieux by the blizzard, Ross, Iverson, and Omyak plodded along the perilous slopes, seeking shelter. Struggling to the summit, they looked down on an incredible sight. Below them, ringed by the high mountains, lay a green, fertile valley. "This island must be volcanic," explained Iverson. "Heat rising through fissures in the ground gives the valley a temperate climate here in the Arctic." Suddenly, a heavy spear came hissing through the frigid air to bury its point in the ice at their feet. "The evil spirits," moaned Omyak in terror. Picture 6. but the burly figures that materialized from the mist and snow were all too real. Armed with spears, bows, and daggers, they looked like Viking warriors of old and spoke a strange tongue excitedly identified by Iverson as Old Norse. Regardless of language, their intentions were plain, and the intruders soon found themselves prodded along icy trails toward an unknown destination. Undismayed, Ross was convinced this new turn of fate would lead him to his son. Picture 7. At the island's capital city of Astragard, the captives were herded into its vast temple to face the governing council and its awesome chief, the Godi. Thanks to Iverson's linguistic skills, the group learned they were believed to be spies sent ahead by an invading force that intended to destroy the ancient civilization. Their fate, summary execution. Viewmaster Reel 2. Picture 1. Sentenced with them was Donald Ross, who until then had been accepted by these descendants of the Vikings on his word that no other invaders would follow him. He had worked among them and even fallen in love, he confided to his father during their brief but joyful reunion. Sir Anthony tried to speak in defense, but was shouted down by the implacable Godi, and the council decreed that the intruders must die in the traditional manner, adrift on a flaming barge. Picture 2. Flames rose higher, smoke it died around the three men who steeled themselves to die as bravely as they could. Suddenly, unbelievable, a slim, girlish figure appeared, icy water dripping from her blonde hair, knife gleaming in her hand. Without pause, she dashed through the flames toward young Ross, who gasped her name, Freya. It was his beloved who was risking the vengeance of the dreaded Godi to come to the rescue. Leaping from one doomed man to the next, she slashed the bonds that held them and said in English she had learned from Donald, "Into the sea, quickly. I have a boat waiting just beyond the point there. Hurry." Picture 3. "To the marsh," gasped the girl as the four flung themselves into the tiny boat and bent to the oars with the strength of desperation. "It will hide us, but not for long. We must push on, for the Godi will soon be at our heels." Over Donald's objections, she outlined her plan. She would draw the pursuers off while the others made their way to the comparative safety of a cave in the mountains above. "Go," she commanded after they had crossed the swamp. "I will come when I can. Then we will make a new plan." The moment she had slipped away, the others suddenly froze at the sound of a rustling in the reeds, which then parted to disclose the face of Omiek. He had led when his companions were taken captive. "Can't kill Omiek," the Eskimo explained with a grin. I hide in water. Your boat go by. I follow." "Omiek, I'm glad to see you," exclaimed Donald, grasping the Eskimo's hand. "We all are," added Ross. Picture 4. Thanks to Freya, who led the Godi's men on a wild goose chase, the group reached a mountain cave, where they rested and regained strength with the food cached there. But their troubles were far from over. Soon the girl joined them, gasping, "They come! They have brought dogs! There is no escape but through the land of the evil spirits." Reaching the crest of the mountain, They saw in dismay what the girl meant. Before them lay a sulphurous wasteland with foul geysers and steaming lakes of hot, bubbling mud. Behind, ever closer, came the baying of huge wolf hounds. Picture 5. Of them, all the girl showed the greatest courage in entering the valley, for she had a superstition to fight as well as physical danger. To her this place and the legendary Bay of Wales beyond it were forbidden by the gods. An unnamed but horrible fate awaited mortals who set foot here. Nonetheless, she led the way through these lakes of fire for the sake of the man she loved. When they arrived at last on the shore of a desolate inlet of the sea, she whispered a prayer and clambered with the rest onto the ice floe they hoped would take them around the mountains to the farm of Freya's people, who would help them escape. Picture 6. Forthwith, the men too were gripped by an almost superstitious awe, for on all sides were the skeletons and carcasses of whales, thousands upon thousands of them, floating in the water or frozen into the ice. It was indeed a graveyard of whales. Soon, though, through the mists came the sounds of threshing, churning and blowing. First to recognize them was Iverson, who grasped his improvised bone paddle grimly. "Whales!" he shouted. "Live once!" Picture 7. His warning was all too true. Amid a crescendo of sound, a pair of killer whales raced out of the mist, attacking. With their makeshift weapons, the men fought the monsters of the deep. It was a losing battle until suddenly, miraculously, a rifle cracked and blood spurted from the nearest whale. Viewmaster Reel 3. Picture 1. Incredulously, while the second whale fled, the fugitives made their way toward the shore, and the capering figure of Captain Brieux, whose marksmanship had saved them, he sketched his tale of the freak wind that had lifted the crippled Hyperion from the mountainside and dropped it here. "She will float," he concluded, "if we strip her." Anything was better than staying in this desolate spot, and soon the airship lumbered sluggishly aloft, bound, they hoped, for Greenland to the south. Picture 2. The motley crew gave a ragged cheer as the wreckage of the gondola dropped away. Brieux performed at the controls like a pianist at his keyboard, nursing the dilapidated gasbag upward, foot by foot. On all sides, jagged cliffs threatened, while erratic winds buffeted the helpless craft from side to side. Picture 3. Slowly the wreck of the Hyperion rose, varying his way and that. For a time it seemed as if it might settle on the desired southerly course, but fate, taking the form of a fickle wind, decreed otherwise. Reaching the level of the plateau above the bay, the ship, to a chorus of groans, began drifting on a northeasterly course. Besides, it had reached its altitude limit and went limping along almost within leaping distance of the ground. It was young Ross who first spied, winking in the distance, the campfires of the relentless Godi's forces. Now they were in for it. Picture 4. In the encampment, a sleepy sentry blinked as an alien form floated into his ken. He did a slow double take, then leaped up with a cry of alarm. a shapeless monster was lumbering toward him through the frosty air. With a yell of pure terror, he took to his heels, followed by his comrades as they panicked one by one. Their cries awoke the Godi, who was made of sterner stuff. Conquering his own fear of the unknown, he screamed curses and commands at his fleeing minions, but to no avail. He was alone. Picture 5. Consumed with rage, the Godi glared upward. Now he could see the faces of his intended prey peering down at him with what he took to be a gloating air. Seizing an arrow, he plunged it into a fire, and when it was ablaze, fitted it to his bow. He knew nothing of volatile gases. He knew only a consuming heat ray. His aim was careless, but it was impossible to miss. The arrow sped on its way. Picture 6. As the Godi's bow bent, Captain Brieux yelled the order to jump, and the adventurers landed unhurt in the snow a split second before the gas bag roared into flame. Not so lucky was the Godi. He tried to run, but the flaming craft engulfed him like a vast blanket. Word of the tyrant's death spread swiftly, and before many hours had passed, the little band found itself in the temple once more. This time they were treated with respect. The council agreed to provide dog sleds and provisions to take the party across the ice to the south, with one condition. One of them must remain as hostage to ensure there would never be a real invasion of the sacred island. Who would be the hostage? Picture 7. To the surprise of all, Professor Iverson stepped forward promptly. "I am the one," he said. "No archaeologist could miss a chance to relive the remote past and to record it." The goodbyes were not easy. The professor to the comrades he would never see again, and Freya to her father. Even so, her eyes strayed always to young Ross, the man who was about to carry her across an ocean and across a millennium of time. Though none of them could know it, there would for decades be rumors, hints, stories of an island at the top of the world. We want to add new videos every day, so please subscribe to our channel.
And if you had fun, thumbs up.